Duran Duran, when Andy and Roger left.
For people that don't, well, it's slightly different. We'd been sidestepping each other for 18 months doing various projects, Arcadia, Power Station, and we said there was a memo that went out saying all aboard is coming aboard May the 1st, and the three of us turned up. Roger actually, we knew, wasn't going to be involved for reasons of health, and the fact that he became very disillusioned and bored with the music business. We knew he wasn't going to be involved, so, luckily we were able to make that change up front, and we got Steve Ferroni in to perform on the album. And he was a slightly different bag, to say the least. We didn't. We had no idea whether he was going to be doing it or not. He kept telling us he was coming, and then he wouldn't. And we get a letter from his lawyer, and the whole thing went on and on throughout the course of the album. We got very confused, actually, and it was this whole sort of series of to and fro's doing between him and us and him and us, and then, I'd phone him up and he'd say one thing, like, I'm coming in 2 weeks' time. Then we get a letter from his lawyer the next day saying he wasn't going to come at all. We'll be on the next flight as soon as $2 million are deposited in his Swiss bank account. It was just, the whole thing was crazy, and the thing was, as it went on through the summer, the three of us started to feel more confident in carrying the thing on. Well, I mean, I think the three of us always had this with the spirit and the soul of Duran Duran, and Andy was kind of like pretty disillusioned with the whole thing for like 2 years, and so that was like carrying around a bit of dead meat after you. And we're kind of a lot more streamlined now, I think.
It's quite ironic what happened, really, because we didn't even have time to think about, well, are the three of us going to be able to write Duran Duran songs? It just sort of happened very naturally. I mean, John and I had got together in the end of April to put a few ideas down, really, before Simon got back. And when he arrived back, we carried on working, and we got a couple of songs, and then we'd suddenly got like 4 songs by the beginning of June, and through June we carried on writing. By the end of June, we really got the whole album. And this was before Andy had even sort of bothered saying, yeah, he was definitely coming over, because he did finally come over in August whilst we were recording the album. And he actually played on about 4 of the tracks, which was really the cap on all of the work that he'd done with Duran Duran. And then he just told us that he wanted to go off and pursue a solo career. We realised when we met him, he was miles apart from us. He just had a totally different attitude towards music and life in general.
Now that Roger and Andy have left?
I think Simon, he came back off the boat, and like, it was a bit of a shock that Andy wasn't around. It wasn't a shock to me at all. I didn't expect him to be there, but I think we kind of did a lot of worrying as to whether we could, between the three of us, play songs, make the songs as strong as how they were before, and deliver the same kind of goods. And we kind of do a bit of working and do a lot of worrying, do a bit more writing and a lot more worrying. And this kind of went on for about 3 months, and then we suddenly thought, hey, we've got 15 songs.
Right. I think the first thing that you notice about listening to the album is the fact that it's more streamlined.
That was the thing at the end of the day. I mean, we didn't realize at the time, but because there was only 3 of us, we were actually writing quicker than we ever had before, and
the musical parts became more, there was much more
easier.
Interplay. Because we'd be sitting around in the studio. We were lucky. I mean, Niall arrived in August, but for the months prior to that, we'd be sitting around in the studio, the 3 of us, and we'd have, we had keyboards, guitars, and basses, and drum machines, and Steve Ferroni too. And so we'd like literally be bouncing around saying, well, you put something down, I'd pick up a bass, and I'd da-da-da-da. Let's try a bit of guitar. We kind of covered up for, we had to grow in order to cover up for what we were lacking in. And it just, what happened was that the musical parts on the record became a lot more empathical, can you say that? I mean, it was everything fitted a lot better because they were all coming from the same brains. When we make a record before, I think everybody's performances were a lot more independent. I would be thinking about bass 90% and everybody else's part 10%, and I think probably the same would be for all of us, And it was really a total group effort. It was like this mesh of sound that we were working towards. So consequently, we made less sounds. We were much more economic with what we did. And I think everything gels much better together.
More from Duran coming up. The last cut.
the very last thing we worked on. Yeah, we were in the
Interesting,
studio.
that became the title of the album.
Well, it was the title had been knocking around for a while. I mean, I got phoned up while I was in the middle of the boat race, I think, or somewhere.
Oh, Michael Berry called you, didn't he? Said they want to call
They want to call it Notorious, and I really didn't like it.
Terrible idea. It was a terrible idea, didn't it?
Well, I really didn't like it at first. I thought hang on, that's a bit, that really is presumptuous to call yourselves Notorious. And this was my one, for me, was the main sort of qualification, was that it had to be clear that we weren't saying we think we're notorious. And I think that was something that they automatically thought anyway.
Yeah, we've just said, no, it's the album that's Notorious. Yeah. It's the album that is infamous.
It's true.
It's the on-off, will they make it, will they not, will they, won't they? And that seemed to be, because people were talking about it and people in London were actually laying bets on whether we'd finish it, whether we'd make it or not. And, they were saying, I wonder what it's like in their studio,
It's funny because the first day that John and I got together, we decided on the title of it, Notorious, as a working thing. So I hope Simon likes it, because it really would be good for the album. And, we like to name things.
That you predicted your audience would be different. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think the audience is going to be different. I mean, when I say audience, I think I had in my mind the people who would actually come and see the live show. And that is an audience. But also the people who buy the records and listen to the music. It's bound to be different. It's been from the last Duran album. Yeah, sure, Dan, you bet it is. It's 3 years different. Those kids have grown up. They still like us. Maybe this record can cut through and just some different kind of listeners as well. I mean, it's funky. It's quite black sounding. There's that to take into consideration. If we can keep adding on young ones as well, to give us that, to get that spark happening in the live show, I'll be very happy, but I'm sure it's going to be a different audience.
Simon and Nick, you're married. John, are you?
None.
Any plans to be married?
None.
How is marriage lifestyle, Simon and Nick?
Good.
Has it affected your lifestyle at all very drastically? It's still the same as it used to be?
Good old boy, but I was still the same.
All right, Nick, I understand you just bought a mansion in London.
A mansion?
A mansion.
I've got a house in London.
Hey, wishes! So you just bought a house?
Yeah, the definition of mansion.
Where is it?
It's in London.
Okay. Any particular area?
Oh, you mean
No
the particular area?
It's my number. You want that as well?
I can give that to you too. Dig a bit further, we'll get there in the end. England and Scotland and Ireland, and then we're going to be opening in North America.
How about Canadian dates? Toronto and what else?
We're doing 6 or 7 cities.
Toronto. This will be the most you've seen of Canada then, as far as touring.
That's the whole world.
Yeah, we won't be playing anywhere we've never played before, but it is the biggest tour we've ever done. It's going to be a bit of everything that we've done up until now.
Now, who's going with you?
The band is going to be the three of us, together with Steve Peroni on drums, who did play on the whole album, Warren Cucurullo on guitar, who's ex-Missing Persons, Frank Zappa, and he also played on a few tracks on the album, together with a 3-piece brass section and a 3-voice vocal section. Trio BBs.
Job one.
The English critics, and they have absolutely no respect whatsoever for us, so, fair's fair.
Pretty good relationship.
And as far as we're concerned,
It's a love-hate
as far as we're
relationship.
concerned,
Love to hate
we're in a
each other.
slightly advantageous position because we don't need them, but they certainly need us.
So they scattered for a minute too, and just because it came to mind, the Arcadia Project. Splinter Project, Offspring. Would that happen again with Duran Duran? Could you see another...
No, not at the moment. Not really.
I mean, I really feel the same way now as I did when we did our first album. And if you'd have asked us then, we'd have said, no way. And, and it took us maybe 4.5 years later, we kind of fancied doing something different. So, I mean, I don't know. That's the only...
Not for a long, long time anyway. I mean,
it doesn't make any sense. We've tried, we've realised we make the best music in each other's company.